Cek, cek, cek. Selamat bergabung, Pak Dekan, Pak Wakil Dekan. Terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Thank you for your coming in this event. Ya, ya. Thank you for your coming. Also, our students, please select your chair and please select your convenient place because we will start our lecture shortly. Also, thank you to our lecturers who have been attended in this meeting, in this lecture. You can have a seat and then for your information, we will have international public lecture for this afternoon. We will have Professor Bokyong Park from South Korea, and he will deliver the lecture about Korea's economic and then Korea's trade economics in the current era. Welcome to Professor Jaja. Welcome to this international public lecture, our Vice Rector. So thank you very much for our have a seat, and then please don't forget to select the empty chair because we will start the event shortly. Welcome to Bapak Ibu dosen who already here. You can have a seat in the front because we have a lot of empty chair in the front. Maybe you can have a seat in the front. We're still waiting for Professor Bokyong Park. Luckily, he's already here. So he will enter the main room shortly. Also, for our students, please don't be noise. You can take a note if you have any assignment from your lecture. And then, because this is a part of your lecture in the class, and we hope it's going to be a nice presentation from Professor Bokyong Park. Welcome to the stage, to the main room, Professor Bokyong Park, Professor Dr. Horace Julius. Thank you for your coming in this event. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will start the event. Attention please, international public lecture with the topic Korea's international trade in the geopolitical era will begin. Professor Bokyong Park, a speaker for today's event. The honorable guest, Professor Dr. Haji Jaja Suteja, SMSE, as Vice Rector of Academic Affairs, Universitas Pasundan. The honorable, all of distinguished professor from Faculty of Economics and Business. The honorable head of postgraduate programs. The honorable, the dean, vice dean, head and secretary of study programs. Also, we welcome guests of honor, the partners in excellence of Universitas Pasundan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let us praise to the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. With His blessing, we are able to be here in this important event. Also, salawat and salam be upon the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has guided us from the darkness into the light. Please introduce my name, Budi Septiawan, and we meet at the International Public Lecture, which organized by Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Pasundan. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you about the rundown of this event. The first, opening. Second, the national anthem of Indonesia and Korea. Third, speech and opening remarks from the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Pasundan. And then speech and opening remarks from the Vice Rector of Universitas Pasundan. Presentation of International Public Lecture by Professor Bokyong Park. Question and answer, certificate and souvenir handover for the speaker, and closing. Now, let's open this event with Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And now, listen to the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia and Republic of Korea. For all of audiences, please stand up. of Faculty of Economics and Business, to Dr. Haji Atang Hermawan, SAMSYAK, CSRS, SRA. Please, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Professor Bok Yong Fak, the Honorable Vice Rector of Academic Universitas Pasundan, the Honorable Head of ISE Bandung Kota Jawa Barat, the Honorable Feb Unpas Cooperation Partner, the Honorable Professor, especially Choi Bon-ju in Korea, the Honorable Vice Dean, Head of and Secretary Study Program, the Honorable, the Lecturer of Economic Faculty, the Honorable Head and Secretary Doctor of Management Science, Master of Accounting and Master of Management, the Honorable Committee Member and respectable student of PEP Unpas. First of all, let us give thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. With His grace, we can attend to take part in international lecture activity, which are held regularly every year. Salawat dan salam to the Prophet Muhammad SAW, who has guided us from darkness to light. Ladies and gentlemen, I, as the Dean of FEB Unpas, will report on the international public lecture activity, which are held in collaboration between FEB Unpas and KF Korea and Kyunghee University, Korea. The cooperation program includes the first e-school lecture on management, accounting, and development economic study program. And secondly, international public lecture with the topic discussed being Korea's international trade in the geopolitical era with Prof. Bok Yong Fak. The event was attended by lecturer and student of FEB Unpas, Doctor of Management Science Program, Master of Accounting Program, and Master of Management Program, as well as FEB Unpas collaboration partner. The number of participants in the international public lecture, including the first, there are 90 international class students. Secondly, there are 16 postgraduate students. And third, lecture of 50 participants attended on-site and hybrid. Ladies and gentlemen, our hope with this activity is within the framework of increasingly insight regarding the Korean economic, international trade, international relation, and international politics, as well as gaining extraordinary experience from research person. Finally, I, as Dean of Economic Faculty, applies if there are any shortcomings, and thank Professor Park, or participant, and the committee who have collaborated to that today activity can run smoothly and be successful. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Universitas Pasundan atau yang dikenal dengan UNPAS turut berperan serta dalam menggerakkan ekonomi global dan nasional yang semakin berkembang pesat melalui pendidikan di Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan. Pada era digital 5.0, UNPAS pun terus mengembangkan berbagai terobosan dalam sistem pendidikan dengan tetap berakar kuat pada nilai-nilai agama dan kearifan lokal.
Sejak didirikan pada tahun 1976 di bawah payung Paguyuban Pasundan, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan hadir dengan kearifan lokal Sunda yang memberikan warna dan corak dalam dunia pendidikan. Hal ini sebagaimana tercantum dalam visi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan, yakni menjadi fakultas ekonomi dan bisnis yang unggul dan berkualitas dalam menghasilkan lulusan yang profesional, inovatif, mandiri, berdaya saing, mampu menghadapi setiap perubahan, memahami teknologi bidang ekonomi yang dijiwai nilai-nilai budaya Sunda dan agama Islam, serta berwawasan nasional dan global tahun 2025.
Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan memiliki 3 program studi dengan akreditasi A.
Telah lebih dari 30 tahun, hingga kini tetap mampu mempertahankan prestasi tersebut.
Elemen penopang keberhasilan karena Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis UNPAS
Memiliki keunggulan tenaga dosen dengan kualifikasi doktor yang sudah tersertifikasi, baik pada tingkat program sarjana, master maupun doktor.
Adapun yang menjadi misi Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis adalah yang pertama, meningkatkan mutu penyelenggaraan pendidikan dan pengajaran dalam bidang manajemen, akuntansi, dan ekonomi melalui rintisan pengajaran berbasis riset, contextual learning, participan learning, dan e-learning, sehingga sesuai dengan perkembangan kebutuhan masyarakat dan kemajuan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi. Yang kedua, meningkatkan mutu dan jumlah serta memperluas publikasi hasil penelitian, kajian manajemen, akuntansi, ekonomi, dan syariah di tingkat nasional dan internasional. Yang ketiga, meningkatkan kualitas dan model-model penyelenggaraan pengabdian pada masyarakat. Yang keempat, membangun kepercayaan dalam mengembangkan kelembagaan pendidikan akademik berkelanjutan dan profesi melalui kerjasama nasional dan internasional. Yang kelima, mendorong dan mengembangkan pemikiran yang kritis, inovatif dan kreatif, dosen, karyawan, dan mahasiswa yang dilandasi semangat religius, berbudaya Sunda, dan berwawasan global. Yang keenam, membangun good faculty governance dan manajemen profesional dalam mengelola sumber daya perguruan tinggi sehingga menghasilkan pelayanan prima kepada sivitas akademika. Yang terakhir, menciptakan iklim kerja yang kondusif ditandai oleh berkembangnya semangat kerjasama, saling percaya, dan terbentuknya nilai-nilai bersama menuju fakultas yang maju dan sejahtera.
Untuk menunjang tercapainya visi, misi, dan tujuan Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis UNPAS, kami memiliki tenaga pengajar yang kompeten dengan kualifikasi lulusan dalam negeri dan luar negeri, serta menyediakan fasilitas-fasilitas yang representatif, diantaranya
Sudah sejak era digital, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis UNPAS menerapkan e-learning system. Tujuan e-learning tersebut adalah untuk mempermudah para mahasiswa belajar dari manapun dan kapanpun tanpa dibatasi oleh ruang dan waktu.
Adapun bidang pekerjaan alumni Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Unpas yang paling dominan adalah bidang perbankan, wirausahawan, pemerintahan mulai tingkat kabupaten kota, provinsi hingga pemerintah pusat.
Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan memastikan setiap mahasiswa dan mahasiswi mendapatkan pendidikan yang tepat dan terjaga kualitasnya tanpa mengabaikan nilai-nilai agama dan budaya.
Opening remarks from the Vice Rector of Universitas Pasundan to Professor Dr. Haji Jaji Suteja, SMSI, CFRM DBA. Please, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahilladzi arsala rasulahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhirahu ala dini kullihi wa kafa billahi syahida. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Allahumma shalli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad wa bishrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma yassir wa la tu'sir. Izinkan saya berbicara dalam bahasa Inggris Indonesia. Thank you very much for our Master of Ceremony, Mr. Budi. You can speak English very well. Good afternoon, everybody, and best wish of our great momentum. And I would like to say thank you very much for our Professor, dear Professor Bok Yung Fa, Mr. Fak from Department of Chair International Development Cooperation, Graduate School of Pan-Pacific International Studies, Kyung Hee University. Thank you very much. Welcome to our campus, Mr. Fak. The Honorable, our Deans, Mr. Dr. Atang Hermawan, SAMACA, thank you very much, and all of the staff. The Honorable Mr. Dadang Bayanur. Mr. Dadang Bayanur is the staff of the Chancellor of the Rector for Cooperation in Universitas Pasundan. My colleagues, lecturers, and students of University Pasundan who participate in this international public lectures. So I would like to say for our close friends from University of Jeonbuk, Jeonbuk National University, Professor Choi. Thank you very much for your online attending. And so I'd like to say for my beloved students. Let me, I would like to say on behalf of the Rector of Pasundan University, who on this precious occasion could not attend to the meeting with the Rector of Private and State University in West Java area. Mr. Edi, as the professor, as the Rector of Pasundan University, express his welcome to the Unpas campus and his appreciations to the management of Kyung Hee University, because we can maintain our collaboration each other. Rector Universitas Pasundan, Mr. Edi Yusuf, Professor Edi Yusuf, fully support academic activities like this, especially at these times. Universitas Pasundan is preparing to strategic activities, encouraging and continuing to improve the quality culture as the private university that has been accredited excellence university, and also currently encouraging and preparing to take part in the international accreditations. Ladies and gentlemen, as an excellence university, it must be proven by excellence human resource as well. And this must be proven by active participations in the various international as the various international conference and also international student exchange that UNPAS take part actively in Indonesia International Student Mobility Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, with these interesting themes, I think you and all of us are very curious about the condition of the world trade constellations. I think especially for the intense battle of the Ukraine and the Russia is still going on, and so even bringing a number of geopolitics of the world threats. On the other hand, I think the competitive between China and America also continues to head up support from the problem of the controlling of the South China Sea area. It will further escalate the world trade problem. Ladies and gentlemen, the questions is how about the position of the Indonesia and South Korea to get the significant contribution to overcome of the international problem. I think Pasundan University also support for economic business activities for international seminar, and maybe it is one very important academic events to support Lamemba accreditation for all the Pasundan and the economic faculty especially. Ladies and gentlemen, I think allow to say on behalf of the rector of the Pasundan University to open this the Korea International Trade in the Geopolitical Era as our topic, and say Bismillah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, and I'm very regret to inform you that I cannot attend this very interesting international public lectures until this finish is the event. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor J.J. Sutija, for your remarkable speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally entered the main event, the presentation of International Public Lecture. And this lecture will be moderated by Professor Dr. Horace Julius. And before that, I will read the curriculum vitae of our moderator. His full name is Professor Dr. Haji Horace Julius S.A. He was born in Jakarta, 8th July 1971. Currently, his position in this faculty is the head of economic study program. And also, he is one of this distinguished professor. Without further ado, to Professor Horace, please, the time is yours. You can join and have a seat on the main stage. Also, Professor Bokyong Park, we invite you to join on the main stage, please.
Tes. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Professor Bokyong Park, the Honorable Vice Rector of Economic Affairs, Prof. Jaja Suteja, the Honorable, the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Professor Atang Hermawan, Amin, Vice Deans, Head and Secretary Study Programs, our Honorable guest from ISE, Dr. Wardana, thank you for coming to this event. And then distinguished professors and guests, our students from undergraduate and postgraduate programs, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Assalamualaikum, Sampurasun. Sampurasun is greeting in Sundanese. We have so many greetings in Indonesia. Islamic greetings, Sundanese greetings. Okay. I'm Horace Julius, and it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to this event, the Faculty of Economics and Business International Public Lecture in 2023. Professor Bokyong Park from Kyunghee University, thankfully, is already here with us. Professor Park, we thank you for your acceptance of our invitation. And ladies and gentlemen, let me share with you the curriculum vitae of Professor Bokyong Park. Only a few important, of course. Professor Bokyong Park is a professor at Graduate School of Pan-Pacific International Studies, Kyunghee University, since 2013. He is now a head of Department of International Development Cooperation, Graduate School of Pan-Pacific International Studies, Kyunghee University. In 1998, he received his doctorate in economics from Seoul National University. He has held a number of notable positions, including Vice President of the Korean Development Economics Associations in 2022, and also economic advisor to South Korea Presidential Office, Blue House, from 2020 to 2021. And right now, Professor Bokyong Park will discuss Korea's international trade in the geopolitical era. Professor Park, please share your knowledge with us. Yes, PowerPoint-nya tolong.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, it's my great pleasure and the honor to give my speech at this very important event at very fantastic auditorium. Okay. Let me briefly introduce myself. Actually, as introduced, I'm teaching at Graduate School of Pan-Pacific International Studies, Kyunghee Universities, since 2013. Before joining the Gyeonggi University, I worked as researcher at the National Research Institute, which is called Korean Institute for International Economic Policies. So my major is international economy. Okay, so a few years ago, I stayed away from my university. Then I served as economic advisor to my president at the presidential office for 1 year and 3 months. So for the former president, President Moon Jae-in, maybe you may remember that the President Moon Jae-in had a very good relation with your president, Joko Widodo. And also my president also visited your country. While I working as the economic advisor to the president, I also chaired the special presidential committee, which is called the Special Committee of New Southern Policies. Maybe have you heard about the New Southern Policy of the Korean government? That is the very special international economic policy, which put priority on the Southeast Asia, including ASEAN and the India. We thought that ASEAN region and the India is a rising, economically rising region. So we have to build stronger connection and the good, better relations with these regions. So, okay, thank you, Vice Rector. And because then I was a chairperson of the special committee, so I should have visited your country, but unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 pandemics, I lost the chances to visit your country. Okay, so fortunately, today I'm here, and it is, in that sense, it is my great pleasure to talk with you about the Korean economy. Okay, so can I use my lecture slide? Okay, now, oh, great, excellent facility. Okay. So today's topic is Korea's international trade in the era of geopolitics. As you know, Korean economy has grown mainly based on the expansion of export. So export expansion has been strongest driving force of the economic growth for the entire Korean economy since Korea's independence in 1945. For the last about 7 decades, Korean export rapidly increased, which promoted other sectors of Korean economy. But now, Korean international trade is faced with a new challenge because of totally different international economic and the political environments. So the current political and economic environments, global environments, is called geopolitics era. Okay, so today, what are the new challenges to Korean economy, particularly in Korea's trade? Before going to my main topic, okay, sorry. Okay, so main topic. First, I will overview the Korean trade historically. Okay, now Korea is the 8th largest trading country in the world. The biggest trading country is China, although China is the 2nd largest economy. But in trade, China is the first or the largest, and second is the US. And those countries are followed by Germany and Japan and the Netherlands. Korea ranks at the 8th. Okay, so total volume of export and the imports is about the 1.25 trillion 2 years ago. Export amounts to $650 billion. Import size is a little smaller than export. And now this graph shows that how important export is in the entire Korean economy. So export account for almost 40% of the Korea's GDP. It means that the Korea depend on the export for its market, about 40%. Although this ratio is slowly decreasing. Okay. About 50 years ago, percentage of the share of the export in total GDP was just 10 or 15%. But this ratio steadily increased to 40%. And for the last 20 or 30 years, we continuously maintained the surplus in trade balance. It means that the mostly export has been larger than import. This surplus in trade balance and the current account balance was a very strong foundation for the Korean economy. Thanks to the continuous inflow of foreign currencies such as dollar, we could accumulate our foreign reserves. Increasing foreign reserves at the central bank worked as the strong firewall to the financial crisis. In 1997, as you remember, that many Asian countries, including your country and the Korea, experienced the financial crisis. One of the biggest reasons for this economic crisis was the lack of foreign currencies, where the insufficient foreign reserves. But after this crisis, we continuously increased our accumulation of foreign currencies, and we could avoid any financial crisis again. So it was mainly due to the continuous and increasing current account surplus. So next, our major trading partners. We are trading with most of, rather all of the countries in the world, but the biggest export market of the Korean economy is the China, because China is the most fastest growing economy, and the China is very close to the Korea. And the second largest export market is United States. Okay, and third is Vietnam. It is very interesting that the Vietnam is the third export market for Korea. Okay, next one is Hong Kong and Japan and Taiwan. So you may ask why Vietnam is the third largest export market for Korea, although Vietnamese national or the GDP size is relatively small than other countries, because Vietnam is the important destination of Korea's overseas investment. Particularly, Samsung Electronics has a very large manufacturing factory for mobile phone in Vietnam. So in order to produce or manufacture the mobile phone, Vietnam factories had to import most of the parts from Korea. So these parts imports from Vietnam is the main reason for the expanding Korea's export to Vietnam. So now Korea's international trade or export is deeply linked to Korea's overseas investment. In import, Also, the biggest import source is China, and second, US, third, Japan. Next, first largest import origin is Saudi Arabia, and also Australia. Why Saudi Arabia is the first largest import origin? Because Korea has no oil reserve, we're a natural gas reserve, so we had to import all of the oil and natural gas from foreign countries. So Saudi Arabia and the other Arabian countries are very important source of our fossil fuels and energy resources. In the past, also Indonesia supplied a lot of natural gas to Korea, but now it became smaller. So this graph is very important in understanding the past and present situations around Korean international trade. This graph shows the historical change in export share by country. In 1971, about 50 years ago, United States account for almost 50% of the Korean export market, but US shares continuously decreased. Now, US share is just 15%, just 15%. And since early 1990s, China started to rise as an important export market. Okay, and at the beginning of the 21st century, Chinese share passed over US. Okay, so this is the reversal of importance between China and the United States in Korean export. Okay, now Chinese export market share is maintaining about between 20% and 25%. It means that for the entire growth of the Korean economy, Chinese market is very important. Okay, but the importance of the US relatively decreased. Okay, the similar pattern can be found in the Japan. Okay, now the Japanese market share is less than 10%. European Union maintains almost 10%. Okay, so for the last one generations, there was a big change in the economic balance around the Korean international trade. I think that this situation is very similar to your countries and other ASEAN countries. Oops. Sometimes backward, sometimes forward. How can I handle it? So, yes, previous, go backward. Where do I have to point to? Here? No. Yes, moving forward, but not moving backward. Okay, I will do. I will do. It's okay. Oh, just moving forward, not going backward. Okay, backward, I think.
Yang handle PowerPoint tolong mundur backward please. Terus
They are moving. Which one is backward? This is backward? Okay. Yes. Okay, good. Okay, sorry. Okay. So into the trade with China, always we maintained the surplus. Okay. And the main export item to China was the machines and the intermediate goods. Okay. In the trade with the United States, also we recorded the surplus. The main export items was semiconductors and the automobiles and the auto parts. And trade with Japan, we recorded always the deficit because we had to import machines and the intermediate goods from Japan. So technically, Japan is more advanced. So we relied on the intermediate goods, means Japan for intermediate goods. So this is the trade with ASEAN. Okay, so in 1989, about 30 years ago, so ASEAN regions accounted for only 6% of Korean export, but now ASEAN's share is 18%. Okay, so it means that the ASEAN region became very important in Korean trade. And next, let me talk about the trade items. Korea's main export item is a semiconductor. Conductors are manufactured by Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. Only one item, semiconductor, accounts for 20% or 25% of total Korea's export. Second item is automobile and the petroleum products. And next one is automobile parts and other IT products like the panel, display panels. Okay, so our main import item is natural or crude oil and natural gas. So fossil fuels account for almost 40% of Korea's import. So rising international prices of oil and natural gas is a big burden for Korean import and the Korean economy. But what I want to emphasize is that the international items has dynamically changed over the past 7 decades. In 1950s and 60s, our main export item was raw materials or the fisheries, agricultural products or the minerals. But in 1960s, we moved to textile and clothing, which are very labor-intensive products. And 70s and 80s, we jumped to other round. Then the major export item was electric appliances, television, and the radio, and also automobiles and shipbuildings. Okay, and the petrochemical became also another important export item. In 1990s, another jump to different items, which included the semiconductors. Okay, so it shows that the very dynamic change and the continuous movement forward higher value added products. Okay. So this is the combination of imports and the exports. Here, sorry. This is the export items composition. In the middle, you can find the orange color. Orange color represents the semiconductor. The share in 2008, the the semiconductor share was just 10%, but in 2018, you can find a wider orange color. It accounts for more than 20%. Okay, it means that Korean total export is very sensitive to business cycle of semiconductor sectors and its prices. This is the import composition. Okay, so yes, the blue one at the bottom represent the crude oil. Crude oil represent almost 30% of Korean the import. So also Korea's import size is very sensitive to the international oil price. Okay, so next I will talk about the success factors in the Korea's export expansion. What factors were the contributed to the fast expansion of Korea's export? Okay. First, I'd like to emphasize the abundant quality labor forces. Okay, so in 1950s and 60s, one of Korea's advantages were the strength was cheap, but very qualified and educated and also hard-working labor forces. Okay, so still, Korea is the one of the country with longest working hour in the world. Even though the Korea's income level is among the high-income economies, still people are working hard and for a long time, and also they are well disciplined and highly educated. At the early stage of industrializations, Korea had a high literacy rate and the high enrollment rate and the primary school. In most of the poor countries with the same income level, the literacy rate was just 30% and the student enrollment rate at the elementary school was just around the 50%, rather 40%. Then, when Korea's income level was less than $100 in 1960s, already Korea's literacy rate was more than 80%. And also school enrollment at primary school was almost 100%. Very universal education at primary levels. So this universal education at primary level supplied disciplined and at least educated labor forces. The second success factor in the export expansion was the appropriate government policy. Government policy was very smart. Okay, government at first attempted to utilize the good opportunities suggested by the United States by opening their market, particularly the market of textile and clothing. So take advantage of those policies. Government promoted export. Okay, and the various export promotion policies were adopted in 1960s and 70s. And also, government adopted a very gradual approach to trade liberalizations. Okay, rather than quickly opening the domestic markets, they step by step liberalized where they opened their domestic market. By postponing the market opening, meanwhile, government helped local companies develop their technology level and enhance their product quality, which would take the competitiveness at the international markets. So there was a combination of local industry protection and gradual market opening in import. And as Korean economy developed step by step, so the required necessary labor forces were also different. At first, they needed disciplined, but the relatively less educated labor forces at the cheap wage. But as Korean economy jumped to the next level, so industries needed more skillful laborers. Sometimes the laborers with college graduate at the engineerings. So responding to industrial demand for laborers, so government also upgraded its education level from the primary to the secondary and the last tertiary. Okay, and also government supported financially and administratively to help local companies develop their own or the indigenous technology. Okay, at first we had no technology, so we had to borrow the foreign technology for manufacturing. But through the technology license, or sometimes the simply copying the foreign product. But Korea did not stay at that level. Korean government pushed local companies to develop their own technologies by pouring a huge amount of money for research and development. Okay. Third success factor is Korean companies' capabilities or potentials. Okay, as I said, they also made a great effort to improve their product qualities, okay, which make them meet global standard. If the quality does not meet global standard, it is not exportable. Okay, and also they develop their own technology through R&D. One good example is technological development in automobiles. About 40 years ago, Korean automobile companies such as Kia or Hyundai could not produce their own engines, auto engines. All of the auto engines and the transmissions were imported from overseas, but they continued to develop their own the engine and the transmissions. Finally, in the middle of 1980s, Hyundai companies exported their own cars, automobiles to US market. But at first, the first export to US market was a very big failure, okay? Because very frequent, how can I say, like the disorder and the problems in driving the Hyundai cars. So Hyundai companies lost all of the confidence among US consumers. So US consumers never purchased again the Hyundai cars because of poor quality. Okay, so but since 1990s, Hyundai companies make the second trial to enter the US market. They improve the quality of cars and they provide the more generous guarantee after sales. Finally, they could expand their market share in the US. Now, Hyundai Motor Company became the fifth and the sixth largest automobile makers in the world. Okay, so Korean companies, the automobile cars are compatible with the German or the Japan cars in its quality. It was mainly due to the continuous development of technology and the product. Okay, so last success factor in Korean export was the very good international environments. It is, in that sense, Korea was very lucky when it was trying to expand its export. The overall global environment, trade environment was very, very good and favorable to Korea. Okay, first, since World War II, there was an international agreement to liberalize the international trade by lowering the tariff rate globally and by opening market in rich countries. Okay, so Korea could utilize these favorable conditions. Korea could expand its export. Okay, and also the second lucky environment was that the fast growth in Korea's major trading partners. In 1960s, 70s, U.S. economy was very good. U.S. recorded a very high economic growth, around 3 to 5%. Next economic growth was followed in Japan. Okay, since 1990s, China emerged as a rising star in global markets. And the last 20 years, ASEAN region also another important market for Korean export, recorded the fast economic growth, whose average growth rate was around 6 to 8%. Okay, so in that sense, very lucky and good global environments for Korean export. But now, these favorable global conditions has been changing. Okay, it means that we are facing new challenges. Okay, so this period, I named as era of geopolitics. Okay, there was the change in global economic environment since 2010. Okay, first we can find some symptom of slowdown of globalizations and the reversal of globalizations. I will show you this graph. This graph shows the global share of international trade to global GDP. This indicator shows that how open the global economy is. In 1985, overall, the trade percentage to GDP was only 34%, but afterwards it increased up to 61%. It means that the expanding global trade, this expanding global trade was good for Korean economy because Korean economy was open economy, like they relying on the international trade. But around 2008, year of 2008, when global financial crisis happened, after then, this ratio started to decline. At the peak, the ratio was 61%. But now, this trade ratio declined to only 51.6%. For the last 10 years, this ratio declined by 10 percentage points. It shows that reversal of globalizations. Okay, so global economy is shrinking their trade, or more domestically oriented rather than expanding international trade. Okay. Second change happened to strategic competition between two big powers in the global politics, two big powers and the United States and China. Okay, because of fast growth in China, US felt a threat from the rising China. So at first, United States accommodate the growth of China, but recently, US feels threatened and started to contain the rise of China. Okay, that is called strategic competitions. Okay, so to control and contain the rise of Chinese technology and economic growth, United States imposed high tariff rate for Chinese import. And sometimes US regulate or rather restrict the inflow of US technology to Chinese economy or Chinese market. Okay, this is a new introduction of trade regulations and the restrictions to some items. So actually this trade regulation is not widespread to overall most of the products, but for very sensitive export trade items, these regulations is imposed. Which items are sensitive in terms of national defense? Semiconductor is the most sensitive items because using the semiconductors or the telecommunication equipment, important information where the national intelligence can leak to China. This is the big concern of United States. So about 10 years ago, US prevented from using made in China telecommunication equipment. Good example was the telecommunication equipment manufactured by Huawei. Huawei is the one of the biggest Chinese telecommunication equipment maker. Okay, so it means that now global economy is moving toward more protectionist. Okay, this is the reversal of liberal and the open global trade environments. Direction was totally reversed toward more protectionist. Okay, I said that the open market and the open global trade environments was very good for Korean past success in export, but this favorable condition certainly changed to negative direction. So world economy is being fragmented, separated from integrated markets. Okay, so recently this phenomenon is called decoupling. Decoupling means that two worlds are getting separated. One part is the US-centered world, the other is the China and the Russia-centered group. Okay, so it is called decoupling. But recently, one of the key person at the United States from White House said that their strategy is not decoupling, but just the de-risking. De-risking means that their goal is to minimize the risk caused by China. Means that they want to maintain the economic ties with China. Nevertheless, many of economists and experts are worrying that the two big economic powers can be separated more in the future. Okay, this separation and the fragmentation of world economy and the very protective and protectionist economic environments are bad for Korean trade. So in that sense, now the era of geopolitics appeared in global world. Okay, so one of the key characteristics in the geopolitical era is that means that interconnection between national defense and the economic policy. In the past, national defense like the military, how can I say, confrontations where the military exercises or the protection of national intelligence were separated from economic issues. Economics is just economics. National defense is the national defense. Both were separated. But now these two factors are intermingled. Okay, so a good example is, as I said, the trade in semiconductor. Okay, when US consider about their national defense, such as like the non-leakage of national intelligence or informations, they realize that they need to prevent from using the Chinese like the telecommunication equipment, okay? And in this way, two issues are intermingled. In that sense, the current, one of the popular term is economic security. Economic security means that the combination of national security and the economic issues, okay? So also, recently, most of the countries putting priority on the safety of supply chain. What is the safety of supply chains? In the past, the key principle in the global manufacturing was the cost efficiency. If China has cheap labors and provide very good like the financial support for foreign investment, then US companies and factories moved to China and the manufactured important products in China. But while experiencing the COVID-19 pandemics, US realized that the heavy reliance or the heavy dependence on foreign manufacturing is very, very risky. Okay, one of the examples was the production or the supply of semiconductors. Right after pandemics, because of the shortage of semiconductors, many US car factories closed the door because of a shortage of semiconductor supply. Okay, in the United States, so there are only a few number of semiconductor factories. So US had to import large part of semiconductors from Korea and Taiwan, sometimes from China, okay? And also, very important medical equipment should be imported overseas to the US, but there was the shortage of medical equipment. Okay, so the shortage threatened the lives of many US people. Okay, so US newly realized that keeping the safety of supply chain, which are less dependent on foreign countries, are very, very important. Okay, this is also an issue of economic security. Okay, so against this background, now new trade and the investment environment appeared globally. Okay, now there is rising worry that the national security is threatened by international trade and investment. Okay, so already I gave one example, the prevention of use of Chinese telecom equipment. And the second concern is that the Chinese rapid technological development may threaten the national security in the United States. Okay, now U.S. is trying to control the rise of Chinese technological levels. Okay, so let me give one example is that Samsung Electronics and the SK Hynix, those are the two biggest semiconductor supplier in the world, have huge semiconductor factories in China. Okay, they are producing a lot of semiconductors in China. Okay, those semiconductors made in China are being exported to U.S. market. But recently, U.S. prevented Korean companies from like the importing semiconductor production equipment to China. Why? They are worried that the cutting edge semiconductor production technology can be transferred to China. Okay, so they want to means the not allowed the technological transfer to the China. Okay, so if advanced technology or the equipment are not imported to the factories in United States, in China, then it is very bad for the operation of a semiconductor factory by Korean companies. Okay, it is very bad for Korean companies, semiconductor companies. And third, as I said, that they feel the risk of heavy external dependency for the essential parts and the materials. Okay, so now U.S. trying to build semiconductor factories within U.S. land, not rely on the import from Korea or Taiwan. Okay, now U.S. are suggesting rather offering a huge amount of the subsidy to invite Korean and the Taiwan semiconductor companies into the U.S. land. Okay, because they feel safe that only when produced those products within U.S. land. Okay, so this all movements means that the global economy is moving toward trade restriction and protectionism. Okay, so the last, this change in environments is making a negative impact on the Korean economy. First, above all, this change means that the dismantling or the destruction of previous free trade orders, which has supported Korea's export growth. Okay. Now, because of the confrontation rather lively between the U.S. and the China, Korea gets stuck in between these two big powers. Okay, U.S. is the Korea's key strategic ally for national defense. Okay, South Korea is already still threatened by the nuclear power from North Korea. So South Korea's national defense heavily dependent on the U.S. Big power and the military powers. Okay, so U.S. is very important, our allies, but China is important. We're the largest export market of Korea. But now Korea is forced to choose only one partner. Okay, there are two cases. Okay. Already I explained. Okay. So the prevention of from the installment of chip making equipment in Korea's semiconductor factory in China. And recently, actually, this economic attack started from United States, but recently China started to show the reaction or the counteroffensive against the US attack. Okay. China also investigated the US-made semiconductors. Okay. About 2 weeks ago, China declared or announced that, US-made semiconductors are not safe for our national defense. Okay. Chinese government also ordered Chinese companies not to use US-made semiconductors. So import of US-made semiconductor was prevented. It means that there is the shortage of a supply of semiconductor in China. To make up the shortage of semiconductor, China needed to export more semiconductors from Korea. But US is pressing Korean government and Korean companies not to export more semiconductors to China. Okay, it means that it is the loss of more opportunities for Korean semiconductor makers. If there is no pressure or demand from the United States, Korean chip makers could expand their export to China, but now it is almost impossible because of the US pressure or demand. Okay, it is another case of the Korea in between two big powers. Okay, so this geopolitical situation is expected to continue in the future, also maybe intensified in the near future. Okay. This year, particularly this year, Korea's total export is decreasing. This is a very, very exceptional case. As I said, for the last 70 years, Korea's export always increased. But this year, Korea is recording negative growth in export. How much negative or how much decline? About by 20%. By 20%. Total export declined by 20% compared to the last year. Particularly, in which reason Korea's export particularly decreased? First, in China, export to China. Second, export to ASEAN regions. Okay, two reasons are biggest Korean export market. Still, we don't know why Korean export to ASEAN and to China declined, but maybe one of the reasons is because of the strategic competition between US and China. Okay. So in conclusion, because of the change in global trade environment, where the movement to the geopolitical eras, Korean export and the entire economy is faced with a totally new environments. Okay, so I think that nevertheless, Korea has sufficient potential to overcome this negative environments. Always for the last 7 decades, we faced different challenges. Every time we has overcome. Also, even though this situation is very challenging, I'm very confident that we will overcome. Okay, let me close my speech here. Thank you for your listening. Thank you.
Professor Park, since we have many students, undergraduate students, they're coming from management and accounting department. So with your permission, I would like to a little bit translate what your presentation. So, okay, thank you. Buat mahasiswa, terutama yang S1, jadi Profesor Park tadi cerita tentang bagaimana ekonomi Korea itu berkembang dari waktu ke waktu, ya. Kita bisa lihat dari ekspornya yang berubah dari tadinya tekstil, lalu ke garment, lalu terakhir itu ke semikonduktor. Dan Korea adalah negara yang pertumbuhan ekonominya didrive dari ekspor dan juga import. Jadi ini ekonominya begitu terbuka. Ya, selain itu, tadi Profesor Park sudah menyatakan bahwa sukses story dari Korea ini karena SDM-nya ya, kerja keras, lalu misalnya industrinya bisa melakukan R&D, pemerintahnya memberikan policy yang mendukung, begitu juga dengan lingkungan internasional, ya. Dan ini menjadi sukses story Korea. Tapi belakangan ini ada isu selain dari ekonomi. Jadi kalau kita bicara tentang perdagangan internasional, lalu apa yang kita ekspor dan apa yang kita import, gitu ya. Indonesia mengekspor apa, mengimpor apa. Korea mengekspor apa, mengimpor apa. Sebagai contoh, Korea mostly export semiconductors, ya, semikonduktor. Semikonduktor itu tuh buat elektronik, telekomunikasi, untuk defense industry, untuk space industry itu jadi sangat strategis gitu ya itu. Nah sebelumnya pola perdagangan ini ditentukan oleh economic aspects. Jadi perusahaan semikonduktor Korea itu bisa menempatkan pabriknya bukan di Korea. Ya, dia bisa tempatkan di China, lalu ekspornya ke Amerika. Kan begitu ya perusahaan multinasional itu. Tapi belakangan ada isu yang namanya geopolitik. Kita tahu bahwa the increasing tense between United States and China itu mempengaruhi pola perdagangan. Ya, termasuk Korea, ya, termasuk Korea. Jadi the combination between national defense and economic policy. Tadinya mereka tuh berpisah. Kalau national defense cerita sendiri, economic policy cerita sendiri. Tapi sekarang tuh jadi bercampur baur begitu. Ya, bercampur baur. Nah, ini terutama Amerika sadari betul ketika kemarin pandemi 2 tahun itu, ya, di mana pergerakan orang dan barang itu begitu terbatas, mereka menyadari, wah, saya ini bahaya kalau menempatkan pabrik bukan di tanah saya, bukan in United States land gitu ya. Jadi yang tadinya orang tuh berpikirnya ekonomi, globalisasi, terbuka, pajak dikurangi, semuanya pertimbangan ekonomi, sekarang enggak gitu ya. Mulai nih, karena dua raksasa ekonomi, United States and China, mulai berpikir seperti itu. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, juga China akhir-akhir ini juga punya peran yang semakin besar. Ya, kita tahu bahwa in the next 20 to 30 years, the big five economy would be China, United States, ya, and Indonesia might be in rank 5, insya Allah ya, insya Allah. Jadi tantangannya seperti itu, ya, tantangannya for Korea, USA is strategic partner in national defense. Jadi buat Korea, Amerika itu sekarang mitra strategis dalam pertahanan negara. Tapi pasar ekspor terbesar Korea itu Cina. Sedangkan Cina sama Korea punya atau mencampur masalah national defense dengan masalah ekonomi. Dan ini kemungkinan akan merubah pola perdagangan ke depan, gitu maksudnya. Ya, jadi ini cerita yang strategik sekali gitu. Jadi kalau di mata kuliahnya Pak Dik itu kita bicara ekonomi perdagangan internasional itu globalisasi, reducing tariff gitu ya, multinational corporation, kita bisa caro pabrik di mana. Sekarang pertimbangan itu mulai berkurang. Kenapa? Karena dua raksasa ekonomi mencampur urusan national defense dengan urusan ekonomi. Nah, the strategic partners of Indonesia national trade is China, Singapore, United States, Malaysia, Australia, and Japan in the 10th rank. Jadi kalau Korea juga mikir pertentangan USA dengan China akan mempengaruhi perekonomian jangka panjang, Indonesia juga akan mengalaminya. Ya, karena strategic partner Indonesia, one of the strategic partners of Indonesia is also China. Kira-kira itu yang disampaikan oleh Profesor Park. Okay, so it is time for us to move into the Q&A session. We'll give you two audience from one, two. How about this one? Okay. Panitia tolong bantu. Okay. And also three students from right here, and then students that join us through a Zoom meeting. The company might forward the question from Zoom meeting to my WhatsApp. Okay, panitia tolong bantu. Ada mahasiswa yang mau tanya? Silakan. Maju aja. Siapa? Oh, di situ. Please introduce yourself, name and department. Start from you. Tes. Nah, ini nih.
Tes.
Yes. Greetings, Professor Park and Professor Ras. My name is Nabil Ariel Permana from Economic Development major. And my question is, as I noticed, Korea always been a top exporter country that affect Korea international trade directly. And let me go back to our discussion we had in the class before. It is because Korea has a good policy that the bank loan interest for exporter corporate is very low until 1990s. What do you think will happen if all developed countries all around the world adopt the same policy Korea has right now in the geopolitical era? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Mohon di setting lagi.
Cek.
Ini azan dari Unpas ya? Oh, this is azan, the calling of prayer. We should take rest for 2 to 3 minutes. azan yang di Unpasnya sudah ya? Itu azan yang di luar ya? Ya, okay. So Nabila was the first student. Second student from audience here, lady. And then the next two questions from those who join through Zoom meeting. Please, which one? Come sit aja. Okay, yeah, you. Yeah, introduce yourself, name and department.
Honorable Prof. Park and Prof. Horas. My name is Raspira from management. I want to ask, one of the factors for Korean export is a quality labor, have hardworking, discipline, and high educate. So, what makes Korean labor like?
Hello, slowly.
Oh, slowly.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So, what makes Korean labor like that? Have quality labor, hardworking, discipline, and a high educate? Is one of the factor due to culture or what? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Should we take another two questions from, yeah. Please open the Zoom meeting. We give two opportunities for those who join. The third one coming from Bali, right? Yeah. Bali.
Hello from Bali. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please
Yes.
introduce yourself, Miss.
Yes. Thank you for time. My name is Putu. I'm from University Dianapura, Bali. And then I have two questions to you about why is South Korea so good for business? Are you with me, sir?
Yes, we hear your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Putu from Bali. Another opportunity from attendance in Zoom meeting. Another one. Malang. Yeah. East Java, Malang. Yes. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. I'm Haidar from Free University Malang. So, what are the key factors that determine South Korea's strategic position between the escalating conflict and tension between China and the United States? And how do these factors shape South Korea's decision-making process in navigating this delicate geopolitical landscape? That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If I'm not mistaken, Miss Haidar, is that correct? Mr. Haidar. Haidar, okay, thank you. Dari ruangan ini, is there any students or professor? Oh, Vice Dean, Pak Dr. Johnny, please. Yeah. Special guest.
Yeah. But I want Mr. Prof. Horas translate my. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Pak. I think your presentation is very interesting, especially about the success. What is it? Yeah, success factor in Korean export. Yeah, maybe you give our government, yeah, what the start apa yang harus dilakukan gitu Prof untuk pemerintah Indonesia? Karena secara teori ya, best theoretical I think is a common theoretical. The one is our our human resource is must good. Yeah, I think it's same. Every country must have resource, good resource, human. But I think Indonesia is very good company and clever, clever human and student, I think. But I don't know what the start was Indonesia government to start like your country. Indonesia is very rich country, but I don't know why Indonesia still poor. I think maybe you give me maybe someday Propak become what's the consultant for our government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Joanim. So, Professor Park, there are 5 questions. Let me read again those questions. Number 1 from Nabila from Economics Development Department. If all of developing countries around the world, they're supported by their own government, and then they're becoming big countries such as Korea right now, would it be they are affected by geopolitical issues right now? Please, Professor. Yes.
Okay, first, thank you for good questions. And it is very impressive that the students ask questions. Usually in Korea, students are very shy of asking questions to professors. Okay, anyway. So first, regarding the question was if most of the developing countries adopt almost the same policies in geopolitical years, what would happen? Okay, so very good questions. Actually, Korea was, I think, the very fortunate when it started industrialization, because then we had no China. Actually, then also China was there, but the Chinese economy was isolated from the global economy. So they didn't compete with Korea for export, right? If we had competed with China, maybe Korea might have failed because of the Chinese labor cheaper and abundant. But unfortunately, when we started our export promotion, our meaningful competitors were Taiwan and Singapore and Hong Kong. They were all smaller countries than Korea. So we very effectively utilized the chance provided by the world and the US market opening, right? So regarding the economic policy for export promotions, this question is also related to the Vice Dean of the faculty, because now most of developing countries get the lessons from Korean experiences. So most of developing countries has adopted very similar policies which were adopted in Korea. So like the financial support and the administrative support for export promotions and the establishment of National Research Institute to support the R&D activities by private companies, very similar. But I think the importance lies in the actual implementation of those policies. Every country can adopt take the very similar policies. But what matters is how to implement actually those policies, make it works in real performance. Okay, so also the same in Korea. We adopted whether we start use the same policy, but at first the policy did not work. It faced many difficulties. Okay, so sometimes the like the misreporting by the government, although there was no actual performance, government reported the that it was working well. Okay, then sometimes the administration bottlenecks in implementations. Okay, theoretically it may work, but always the real situations are much different from the theory at the desk. Okay, but always government sometimes precise performance continuously talked with the businessman. What kind of difficulties do you have in expert? Okay, so there was the monthly meeting between president and the business leaders. Okay, they double checked whether the policies are working well or not. Okay, my point is that not the direction of the policies, but the actual implementations in the real world is more and more important. Okay, so performance always monitored and evaluated. If there is any different obstacles, so a different approach should be adopted. Okay, so this is the repeated trial and the errors and the revision of policies. Okay, that's my answer.
Thank you, Professor. Nabila, is that? Nabil, I'm sorry. He's my student, but I forgot his name. Nabila is a woman's name, ya. Nabil without A, Nabil without A. Oke. Jadi kalau kita bisa belajar dari apa yang dilakukan oleh Korea dan dicapai oleh Korea, policy-policy yang dikeluarkan oleh pemerintahnya untuk mensupport industri, tapi bukan hanya terbatas pada apa yang ada di meja on the desk, ya, tapi betul-betul memonitor, mendengar apa yang dialami oleh industri, gitu, lalu betul-betul memperbaikinya bila memang ada kendala-kendala. Jadi intinya adalah sebelum kita bicara tentang geopolitik, perbaiki dulu perekonomian kita biar kayak Korea, baru ngomongin geopolitik, begitu ya. Dan untuk itu policy itu harus betul-betul dijalankan oleh semuanya, gitu. And number 2 from Resvira, right? Resvira? Yeah, Resvira. She's from management department, business department. She asked you on the previous PowerPoint, yeah, there was a page stated that Korean labor is a disciplined labor. And she asked you, where is it coming from? Is it from culture? Because students here are very interested in Korean culture.
Yes, okay. That question is also very important and very fundamental questions. Many development economists say that Korean peoples are very hardworking and very diligent, very disciplined. But we have to explain why they are. Okay, what was the root cause of those behavior? Okay, so I think I don't have clear answer either, but my personal idea is that those behaviors of Koreans are related to our history and culture. Yes, it has a very long history. So hardworking. I'm not sure, but maybe one possible explanation is that those behaviors may be related to Korea's rice farming culture. So rice farming needs very careful management of farmland. They have to manage the rainfall and the management of water in growing the rice. Okay, so very timely management of all things. Okay, and second factor, or the second point, how can I say, why most of Koreans put priority on education. Okay, so it is very well known that the most of Koreans are crazy for education of their children. Okay, so my case, I studied at high school mathematics for more than 17 hours in a day. Okay, it is ridiculous. Okay, why? So and also even when its income level is very, very low, all parents sent their children to primary school. Okay, so why? I think first, this is also related to our culture and history. In the history, historically, most of top class were the learned class wanted to become government officers because government officers was most respected socially. Okay, and in recruiting government officers, this is the traditional story or history story. We used the state-run test for officer recruiting. The test was based on the Confucian study of Confucianism. Okay, reading many books and getting intelligence or knowledge from those Confucian books. They took the test. Okay, so means that the employment or the recruiting of public officers were based on their knowledge and intelligence and the study. Okay, those history or the culture was inherited to the modern Korean society. Okay, so even in the modern Korean society, top elites want to be government officers. The modern recruiting test, yes, so test became modernized. They are taking the exams about the constitution, laws, and economics and administrative studies. Anyway, they studied to become government officers. And the recruiting test was very transparent, very clean. Okay, so a lot of effort to study hard. And second factor is that it is about the motivation or incentive to get educated. Let's suppose that the society is very unequal based on its wealth conditions. Okay, some groups are very wealthy, others are very poor. Most of the political and the social powers are owned by small wealthy group. If there is no chance to be promoted, even if you are educated, okay, then there is no incentive to get educated. Even after graduating from the colleges with good grade or scores, all of the employment and the getting the chance of getting the job are determined by his or her family powers or the wealth levels, no incentive to get educated. But in Korea, right after the independence from colonies where the Korean were, Korean society became more equal. So it means that the traditional wealthy group, while big landowners demolished, disappeared. because of the land reform. Land reform means that the redistribution of farmland. Okay, this land reform changed the Korean society more equal. Okay, so equal chance for all of Korean people. Only if he or she is more educated, more learned, then they have more chance to get better job. Okay? It increased motivation and incentive to get educated. Okay? So now Korean society is moving more unequal society. Rising inequality in wealth and income among classes, and the family culture or the family, how can I say, legacy or inheritance, strongly influencing the chance of employment, rather getting job by children. Okay, so it is reducing the motivation to be educated. Now in Korea, the university enrollment rate is decreasing. Even if they graduate from the college, smaller chance to get better jobs. Okay, so in the past, Korea's university or the college enrollment rate was as high as 80%. Now it is just at 60%. So less motivation, incentive to get educated. Okay? So my point is that the means to make people more educated, the, how can I say, equality of the society, overall equality is very important because it is related to the incentive of motivation.
Ya, thank you, Profesor. Resvira, ketangkap? Ketangkap, saya aja enggak. Oh, kamu ketangkap ya, hebat. Ya, according to Professor Park, ya. Jadi kalau kamu tanya kenapa mereka sangat disiplin, mungkin karena budaya bisa juga. Jadi in the past, ya, people of Korea are rice farming society. Jadi mereka nanam padi seperti kita. Dia bilang kalau mau berhasil padinya panennya bagus tuh harus ngurus benih, ngurus air gitu ya. Dan itu mereka harus urus semuanya, harus tekun gitu. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, sebelum kemerdekaan Korea tahun 45, ya banyak insentif untuk menjadi ASN, ya pekerja pemerintah, government employee, ya. Kenapa? Karena di sana itu yang gajinya tinggi waktu itu, terus status sosialnya tinggi itu jadi ASN di sana. Nah, tes untuk ASN itu tuh sangat sulit. Anda harus belajar budaya, belajar law, belajar ekonomi, seperti yang di drakor-drakor itu loh, ya. Jadi harus seperti itu, dan itu didrive oleh budaya Confucianism. Kalau bahasa Indonesianya Konghucu, ya, Kongfutse bahasa Indonesianya Konghucu. Nah, kita juga punya religion kan, nah mereka juga punya religion. Jadi jadi ASN tuh mereka sangat termotivasi, jadi mereka harus belajar gitu. Nah, setelah Korea merdeka, insentif untuk menjadi ASN ini terus berlanjut, tapi bukan dari belajar seperti itu, tapi dari formal education, ya, dari formal education. Dan Professor Park spend almost 17 hours, 17 jam sehari waktu SMA ya. Kita 17 jam sehari tidurnya ya, dia 17 jam sehari belajarnya gitu. Dan yang kedua adalah faktor sosial, yaitu kurangnya ketimpangan sosial. Karena kalau kita masyarakatnya timpang pendapatannya, maka sebagian kesempatan itu hanya dinikmati oleh mereka yang kaya, dia bilang. Jadi nanti yang miskin ini kalau mereka berpendidikan ya pun tidak bisa mengakses sumber-sumber kekayaan. Jadi harus ketimpangan pendapatan itu ketimpangan pendapatan betul itu harus dikurangi. Jadi intinya there is a strong incentive to become educated people. Ya. Jadi kalau Anda educated people lulus terus kerja nggak diterima, gaji rendah. Nah, itu nanti kesananya gawat tuh, ya. Nanti yang pinter-pinter, yang kaya-kaya itu yang yang motivasinya rendah, yang nggak pinter dan seterusnya. Jadi it is important to become an educated people. Nah itu yang harus kita jaga. Itu salah satu value yang bisa kita ambil dari apa yang terjadi di Korea. The next question coming from Miss Putu from Bali. Actually, we have a student exchange program that they can come, they can join our program from Zoom meeting, and then on the other hand, we can join the program through Zoom meeting. Miss Putu asked, why Korea is such good in the business?
Okay, so now still Korea is receiving a lot of foreign investment. It means that the foreign investors believe that Korea is very good for doing the business. Why? This business environments, like the how can I say, have different meanings over time in different period. In the past, like the 1960s or 70s, Korea was good for investment because Korea had cheap and the qualified laborers. Okay, so now the situation changed. Now Korean wage is very high. The Korean average wage rate is even higher than the Japan. Okay, so when we consider only the wage level, there is no incentive to invest in Korea. But most important strengths in Korea, I think, that is the very skillful laborers at the graduate levels. Okay. Also, we have many good small and medium enterprises which can supply parts to foreign investors. Okay, so means that when the foreign companies are doing the business in Korea, they need also like local partners who provide supplies, right? So there are so many qualified SMEs, and also they can get the information where the how can I say, personal networking through the interaction with the many Korean companies. Okay, that's why many world-class companies are investing in Korea. So very good quality of graduate level engineers and technicians, and also very qualified the SMEs with good high tech technologies.
Oke, Miss Putu, jadi kenapa Korea eksis banget di dunia bisnis gitu? Karena sudah meninggalkan era di mana upah rendah itu menjadi motivasi bagi investor untuk datang ke Korea. Mereka sudah pindah ke fase yang berikutnya. Investor itu datang ke Korea karena Korea itu punya skillful labor, ya. Lalu setiap foreign direct investment yang ada di Korea itu membutuhkan local partners, ya, SMEs, small medium and enterprises. Jadi usaha kecil menengah di Korea itu sangat kuat. Kuat apanya? Qualified SMEs, jadi mereka berkualifikasi, dan mereka high quality of engineers. Jadi engineersnya itu walaupun di perusahaan-perusahaan kecil tuh high quality gitu. Jadi kalau bikin produk kepake lah sama perusahaan multinasionalnya. Itu yang membuat foreign direct investment di Korea itu menjadi besar, dan Korea bisa berubah dari negara yang tadinya bukan eksportir menjadi eksportir yang juga berubah sekarang menjadi semiconductor itu. Ya, kira-kira itu jawabannya. Number 4 from Haidar from Malang. He asked you, we know that in geopolitical era right now, there are two giant countries, China and United States of America. And you said earlier in your statement that it is a new challenge for Korea especially, and also from many countries like Indonesia. What is a strategy to overcome this issue?
Okay, so this issue is a very, very debatable among politicians. Means there could be two different views on the Korea's proper strategy. First one is they argue that a stronger alliance with the United States. Okay, the other one is that while maintaining alliance with the United States, still we need to make a good relation with China. Okay, it means that we make a balance between United States and China. Two different views. Okay, so it depends on the government. The current government, led by the President Yoon, is moving his weight toward the U.S. alliance. He is continuously strengthening the military and strategic alliance with the United States. Okay, so also he tried to make a triangle alliance among U.S., Japan, and Korea. Okay, so this approach is much different from the former government. Previous government tried to keep a balance between U.S. and China. Now means the tension between U.S. and Korea and China is rising recently, rising tensions. So means a few days ago, the Chinese embassy in Korea said that Korea should be very cautious of betting that China will fail. Okay, so it will harm the Korean economy. Okay, I think it is a like of a threatening, blackmail to South Korea. Okay, so many of politicians and the people get angry about this the ambassador's statement. Okay, so the opposition party, okay, is still saying that we need to keep a balance on the keep good relation with China for our economy. Anyway, the current government is moving toward more United States. So the current government believes that the tension and the decoupling between U.S. and China will intensify in the future. So maybe they think that we need to choose only one big power. It seems impossible to make a balance.
Baik, Pak Haidar di Malang, tergantung dari pilihan politik pemerintahnya, ya. Pemerintah Korea sebelumnya itu menjaga keseimbangan kedekatan Korea dengan Amerika dan kedekatan Korea dengan China, ya. Tapi dua-duanya baik China maupun Amerika itu berusaha menarik Korea ke salah satu titik yang lebih dekat ke mereka. Ya. Contohnya kemarin Duta Besar Cina untuk Korea itu sempat mengatakan bahwa kalau Cina kalah dalam perdagangan dengan Amerika, ini bahaya nih untuk Korea gitu ya, karena kan pasarnya Korea ekspornya juga ke Cina. Tapi ada pemikiran lain yang mengatakan keseimbangan itu bukan cuma antara Cina dan Korea, tapi juga Jepang. Jadi intinya adalah kita harus memikirkan dulu apa kekuatan kita, ya, apa kekuatan negara kita. Jadi kalau Korea tadi dengan kekuatan dari polisi pemerintahnya, SDM-nya, perusahaannya, baru kita mikir kita mau memilih politik yang mana gitu ya. Apakah mau dekat ke Amerika atau dekat ke Cina. Jadi ini still going on, ya. Whether Korea moves into United States sides or China sides, or to keep in the balance, not only between two countries, but also in the balance of three countries in Japan also. Yeah. So it depends on political view of the government. Yeah. Yeah. Terakhir, the Vice Dean, although you have answered the question number one, that's coming from Nabil, and it relates to what Dr. Joanim asked you, and he's so curious because Indonesia is a country with abundance of natural resource, abundance of labor, and what should we do to follow the success of Korea economy? Yeah, still curious. Is it educational? Because nowadays, it's still in question mark in Indonesia. Yeah. Does education is the answer?
I think it is very dangerous for foreigners to give an answer to different countries, because foreigners has no sufficient information about the local countries. Nevertheless, if you ask me, so I will give some hints. Okay, so I think the education is just one of the conditions for development, just one of the conditions, okay? But nevertheless, it is a very fundamental necessary conditions, because only when people and the students are educated, then we can prevent the, how can I say, non-democratic policy system, political systems, where the authoritarian political regimes we can prevent. Okay, and I think, although my information about Indonesia is very limited, it seems that Indonesia is going well, at least so far. So Indonesia has very good conditions. Its domestic market is very large, and it has well-educated peoples. And I think the investment environments is getting better. So some of the Korean big companies such as the Hyundai started to invest in Indonesia to produce the electric vehicles. Okay, so means that by inviting many foreign investment, then Indonesia can create jobs. The new creation of the jobs will provide more chance to college graduates. It means that it will enhance the motivation to enter the university. Okay, so and through the collaboration with the foreign investors, local Indonesian companies can enhance their technology and the business skills. I think this is the path that China already went through. Okay, so next hurdle is the middle income trap, because middle income trap means that by utilizing the chances from the foreign investment, low-income countries can escape from the absolute poverty. But next hurdle is to internalize. Internalize means that develop their indigenous, their own technology. It is impossible to continue to depend on the foreign technology. Then they can't jump up to the next level. Okay, so the technological internalization is a second challenge to most of the middle income countries. now I think the China is moving beyond these hurdles. Okay, still, as you know, another challenge is that the sound management of macroeconomic conditions. Otherwise, middle-income countries are very vulnerable to economic crisis, particularly financial crisis. One good example can be found in many Latin American countries, Mexico, Argentina, and Brazil. Those countries are not low-income economies. They already jumped to middle-income economies, but the biggest challenge in those countries are the repeated occurrence of financial crisis because of bad management of macroeconomics. Okay, so now China is still worrying about that the danger. Okay, so China is very, very cautious about the management of financial sectors. Okay, very cautious of opening their financial markets. Okay, so my key point is that the avoiding the middle income trap depends on the sound management of the macroeconomics and internalization of technology, stopping depending on the foreign technology. Okay.
Jadi education memang satu hal yang penting, tapi support by well supported government policy, ya itu juga sangat penting. Dan yang perlu dihindari adalah middle income trap. Ini ada satu teori yang mengatakan bahwa ada negara yang pendapatannya menengah seperti kita itu nggak bisa keluar, nggak bisa jadi negara maju ya. Itu ada satu teori tersendiri. Dan itu harus dihindari, trap itu dihindari dengan manajemen financial crisis yang harus dihindari, dan itu terjadi di Amerika Latin. Dan yang kedua adalah internalization of technology. Jadi jangan terlalu tergantung kepada teknologi luar. Nah ini kan tantangan juga ya. Oke, saya kira sudah selesai. Oke, ladies and gentlemen, so we've come to the end of our session, and I hope that this dialogue will broaden your understanding of the economy, not only Korean economy, but also international and especially Indonesia economy. So please give him a big applause because it is a very successful. Thank you.
You are listening. Okay, thank you.
Giving back this session to you, Mr. Budi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Horas and Prof. Park, for your presentation and good moderating style from Professor Dr. Horas. Thank you very much. And very interesting. Hopefully we can get many insights and we'll be broaden our knowledge as well. And let's step further for the next agenda. We will have certificate and souvenir handover for the speaker. For our speaker, Professor Park, please go to the front of this stage because we will have a certificate handover. And Mr. Dean as well, Dr. Atang, please join to the front of this stage. Mr. Vice Dean, maybe Pak Sasa, Pak Juanim, Pak Dik, please go to the front. We will have a photo session with our speaker, Professor Park, and our guest for today, Prof. Horas, Pak Dadang, please go to the front. We'll have a photo session. Ya, Pak. Oke. Maybe the students, you want to take a photo with Prof. Park, please. Oh, okay. we we have we have also certificate for our moderator, certificate handover for our moderator, Prof. Horas. Excuse me. Go to the front. We have a certificate handover. Mr. Vice Dean, maybe Pak Juanim, maybe go to the front, give the certificate to our moderator for today. Thank you very much. And maybe the students, you want to have a picture with Prof. Park? Okay, please, excuse me, Prof. We will have a photo session with the students for this moment. Please, students, you can join to the main stage. Okay, ready? Yang presentasi kami, ya, itu kan ya, ya. Cuma dua yang belum, yang ulang satu.
Ya dulu ya. Nah, kemarin masih Proporas arahannya yang ngulang kemarin Proporas. Tapi coba saya diskusikan juga, terutama sih sama si Prof-nya ya. Iya, iya.
Okay, the happy audience, we are in the end of this international public lecture. To close this event, let's say Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Hirobil Alamin. We would like to thank the honorable speaker, Professor Bokyong Park, special guest as well, and our guest of honor, our audience who attend and support this event. Once again, I would like to say thank you very much, and let's close this event. Have a nice day to all of you, and see you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Giving applause to all of us. Thank you very much.